Okay, so now I've started another live video and I'm waiting for Jarima to come on in. Share to group. Bloop. We're live. We are live. Okay, wait. Okay, here. There's Jarima. Get out of here. Ah! What am I doing? Okay. All right. All right. Where is she? Okay. I want to make that go away. Okay, good. All right. Hey, Sharon. Jarima, how do I get you in? Bring them on camera. Okay, here we go. Add Jarima on camera. She's being added. I am so bad at all.
Hi.
Hey, hey.
That's so much better. I don't know why yesterday you didn't do it, and now it was like a little echo when I was talking at first. But
Of course, that's going to happen today.
of course, but I'm glad we were able to figure it out quickly. How's your day been?
So far, so good. I've been anticipating this, so I've been a little bit
Yay.
nervous, But
What are you nervous for? I'm sure you're not nervous with me.
yeah, just a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to how I did the last video, just kind of share what this is, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Cool.
So the front row is an online segment in which we are able to not only interview authors and people in the literary world or the arts in any way, but it's also an opportunity for our Facebook family to learn about people who've been involved in the arts as well, and just a way for us to show our kids that there are so many different ways in which they can become engaged in literature and acting and all these different things. And I'm excited because you're actually the first person I have been able to interview who's actually been able to use writing in so many different platforms. And so I've had authors, I've had poets, I've had singers, and I feel like you're just like the total package. And so I'm excited. So I'm excited for people to learn about all the amazing work you've done. I'm not going to spoil it. We'll talk about it as we go. But I always start off every interview with just tell us who you are and just a little bit about your background.
Well, my name is Fracaswell Hyman, and I now live in Wilmington, North Carolina with my family. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. That's where,
Okay.
That's where I was booted, and I've been rebooted in different places that I've lived. But I'm always, even though I was born in North Carolina, I was raised in Brooklyn. So I'm always, Brooklyn, me and Spike Lee. What can I tell you? I live here now. Wrote the Mango book a couple of years ago. I just sent in a first draft of the second Mango book, and I'm waiting to hear from my editor about that book. They contracted me to do 2 more. So finishing the first draft of the second book was like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, I'm telling you. It seems to me that it gets harder when people are paying you ahead of time. When I wrote the first book, I'm just, I'm doing my thing, I'm writing it, I'm having fun with it. And then people start paying you and you feel, now I really gotta like do a job, So that's different. I'm doing that, and living here in Wilmington has been great because I've been able to do plays, acting in plays. I've been directing, and it's just a nice time of life, I guess, for me. I'm busier than ever, and I'm supposed to be retired, but I'm busier than ever, which is pretty cool, I guess.
Yes, I love it. So I guess that's just like a perfect segue. So you say you're supposed to be retired, but there's so much work that you've done. And so I guess my first question is, what sparked, or when did you know that you had this love when it came to writing and the arts? So like, what was the thing that drew you in as, okay, this is what I think I could do as a career?
It was kind of a fluke. I was doing acting, and I was working with a theater company in Washington, D.C. called Living Stage Theater Company. Okay. And I was there for about 5 years. I started to get really bored and I was going to leave. And the artistic director said, well, listen, over the summer, why don't you write some pieces for us to work on as a in theater company? And I'm like, okay. And he said he'd pay me through the summer to write these pieces. Of course, I waited till a week before we went back into rehearsal, and I furiously wrote some pieces. And he actually liked them, and they turned out pretty good. And so I stayed for another year, and then I went to New York, and I started volunteering with a group called the 52nd Street Project, where they work with kids from Hell's Kitchen and take them away for a weekend to for a week to Block Island, write plays for the kid, come back to New York and perform them. And so I did that.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. And a producer from television saw one of the pieces that I did and thought I had a good ear for how kids talk. And they were getting ready to put together a team for a show called Ghostwriter and asked me in an interview. And that's how I got my first writing job. It was such a fluke. But
wow.
There I was. I was the writer's assistant for the first season. They let me write a couple of scripts. And then they let me write more. And third season, I was a head writer.
Wow. I love Ghostwriter. When I saw that was one of your accolades, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. So what like sparked your idea? So I know that that's just one of many of the children's TV shows you've written for. But like what, for instance, for Ghostwriter, like what was the spark for that?
Well, you know, the show, I didn't create that show, but I just, you know, got to know the kids, got to know the characters. And then, you know, I always had this thing about movies and movie stars. And I pitched them this idea about a movie star getting threatening letters and stuff like that. And they said, go ahead and write it. So, you know, that's how I did that. Ideas come like at any given time. You never know. You just have to be open and receptive, I guess. A lot of times I'll get an idea in the morning just as I'm waking up. That's where Mango came from. I was waking up one morning and I thought, Mango Delight, what a weird name. Who is she? And that it just evolved from there. You know, sometimes in the shower, you get great ideas. Sometimes when you least expect it, something will come. Or else, you know, you just got to sit down and concentrate and try to figure out what it is that you have that you can put on paper, whether it's on TV or a movie or a book, and go from there, you know?
Yeah. I know that I have read, I think maybe in your bio, that children's TV shows was not something that you were going for. You really wanted to go like to be someone in front of the camera. And so just really in the acting stage. So have you learned in your career that you just kind of go with the flow as to what is drawing you at that time? Like I'm thinking about for writing for TV shows, like you could have said, well, this is actually not what I'm trying to pursue. But did you just make a decision like, hey, I'm going to still pursue my heart's desire, but this seems to be like what I'm supposed to be doing at this time? Like, how did that work?
I think it is, you know, opportunities will present themselves to you and you have to decide whether you want to try it or not. I didn't know that I could really write until Bob said to me, go write this summer. And I did. And then, you know, I didn't know that I was going to be, you know, writing on a TV series, but the opportunity came and I jumped on it. And I decided, you know, well, you know, this is paying. This is paying me money.
Exactly.
Acting was my heart and my love, but it wasn't giving me no money. And
Right.
I like money, you know. I like to have a viable income, and the people seemed to like me. And I was still so close to acting because I was there on, you know, working on a TV show, and I could go down to the set and watch. And I think a lot of times in creating these characters over the years and writing these different shows, it's been a way of acting because I'm acting out all the parts when I'm writing them, when I'm giving them dialogue and stuff. So it was kind of like a way of doing that. So I didn't act for over 20 years because I was busy writing and producing, you know, and directing TV. And that was, you know, fulfilling for me because it was creative. You know, when I moved back here to Wilmington, supposedly retired, but then I got an opportunity to go back to my first love. And I was like, woohoo! I had no idea Wilmington even had a theater community until I got here. And I'm like, wow, all these things are going on these shows, all these people and actors and directors. It was perfect, you know?
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I want to touch on a few things. I know you were able to go back. So were you speaking about Fences?
Yeah.
Or something else?
Well, I had
Yes,
done a different play before.
That's a part of it, and you won Best Actor. So congratulations.
You know what? I thank you very much. I just think that
Yeah.
Fences, the part of Troy Maxson is so good. It's hard not to win because August Wilson put everything, like he peed on that script. Okay. So,
yeah.
I mean, when you get a part like that, it's just the most exciting thing. And yeah, I think all of the credit, really, the lion's share of the credit has to go to the writer because he is amazing, that character. And now I'm doing another play where I am doing August Wilson's autobiographical one-man show.
Wow.
It's called How I Learned What I Learned, and it's a one-man monologue about his life and how he became who he is as a writer. And it's so exciting. You know, I've never done this before, so it's a huge challenge, you know, to just be up there by yourself. But I'm looking forward to it.
When does it open?
It opens in May 22nd and runs for 3 consecutive Thursday through Sundays into June. So fingers crossed I don't fall on my face.
Come and see you.
Come on down.
Yeah, I've never been to North Carolina. It would be a wonderful, wonderful trip.
Wilmington is a really nice town. It's a lot of historic buildings and a lot of history here. We have a beautiful waterfront. We used to have a snake museum, but the man who ran it got killed. But it was, you know, great.
Yeah. I saw at the bottom, my mother is watching online.
Hi, Mom. Hey, Stanley Wayne Mathers. He's a big Broadway star. Stanley Wayne is watching too. Tara. Hey, Tara.
She asked, will it come to Chicago? So is it just staying in North Carolina?
I would love to be able to go to Chicago and tour and, you know, even do a book tour, you know, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes up, you know. I'm waiting to hear from my editor next week about this next draft of Mango, so fingers crossed.
Yeah. So with Mango, we can go there now. So with Mango, so we talked about the children's show, well, the TV show, some of them, and then also about acting. So writing books, was that also something, or being an author, was that something that just kind of came to you? I know you said it was the name came to you, but did you say, now I want to pursue being an author?
Well, after I left LA and moved back here, I just, you know, there's a lot of TV work here. So I just started writing this book. Like I said, the name came to me and I was like, let me just follow this story where it goes. And I did, and it was unexpected, really. But I was also at the same time writing a book that's, you know, a literary fiction book. And I had got to a point where I was stuck. So I just put that aside and I, you know, did Mango. I've always wanted a book in the library. You know, I've always wanted at least one book in the library. I've always loved to read. And I love Toni Morrison. And Toni says, write what you want to read. So that's what my main goal is. What I want to read, that's what I write, because I would like to read a book like Mango. I would like to read a book like the other books I write. Reading is, you know, I always have at least 2 books going at the same time. One playing on Audible in my car and one on my iPad. So there's always something going on, you know. Hey, Kermit. Kermit Frazier is watching, and Kermit was the head writer on Ghostwriter when I got out as a writer's assistant. He is my mentor. He is the guy who was gentle in guiding me to learn how to write a script for television. And I owe so much to Kermit Frazier. He's a great man. He's a playwright too. And he's had plays on all across the country. Hey, Kermit, I'm waving. I got to wave.
Wow. Yes. Wow. I think just going into the process, because each author that I've interviewed, they kind of talk about the journey of from paper to actually publishing a book and to it being distributed. Was it difficult? I mean, I know you were already in the industry, but was it still difficult to get a publisher or someone to want to take the book on? There are some people that take years. Others are like, man, actually, it was a very smooth process. So how would you say it was for you from the concept of Mango Delight to actual final product? Like, how long did that take?
It took about altogether about 2 years, I guess. And the writing of
Okay.
it was the bulk of the time. And then I was lucky, you know, I must say I've been a lucky person. And one of the producers of Ghostwriter, Liz Nealon, we produced lots of projects together. And I showed her Mango, and she liked it. And she knows a guy who used to be a PA on Ghostwriter, a guy named
Oh, wow.
Kevin O'Connor, who was a PA on Ghostwriter, and now he's a book agent. And luckily, I must have been nice to him back in the day, because he liked my book and took me on as my agent, and he, you know, distributed it, and we got Sterling Publishing interested in putting it on. So it has been very lucky and smooth. I know it's not always like that,
Yeah.
for people, and you have to work hard and write query letters, and that's what I was really like, oh God, I'm not good at writing nonfiction, you know, query letter and being on, but I
Right.
luckily didn't have to do that. But I do know that it's a process for a lot of people. And what I have learned, and what advice I could give, is to find somebody, whether it's an agent or an editor or a company, that publishes the kind of work that you want to get out there into the public. Like if you write genre fiction, you write horror stories or science fiction, find people who are in that area, and then you can make a quicker connection to somebody who's going to help get your work published, because that's the thing that they do, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I would say, just even in the advice line that you're giving, like, what would you say for someone who is aspiring to, maybe they're in school to be a writer? I know you said, like, as far as trying to get your book published, but we have kids. So my organization, Burst Into Books, we work with children from 6 months all the way to 13.
Yeah,
And so we
read
do
about
monthly book publishing, and just really trying to just ignite this love of writing and literature at a very young age. And I have kids who are in the 5th grade and 6th grade who are like, they know they want to be a writer. They know they want to do something with the arts. And what would you say are some of those, like, beginning advice for maybe someone who's young, who's looking to aspire to make this a lifestyle? Because I think so many times unfortunately, we may look at being in the arts as a career, but sometimes they're like, hey, that can't be your main thing. Like, make that your hobby. You need to focus on this. But what if someone's like, no, I know this is what I want to do? What would be your advice to, say, like, a 12-year-old or someone younger?
Read, 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 read. Keep reading. Mm-hmm. Write what it is you love. Usually that starts with what you know. You know, don't let anyone discourage you. You can read, you can write stuff, and you can share it or not, depending on if you find somebody who is going to be a serious and gentle and kind person, who's going to look at your writing and give you constructive feedback. That's important. And if you know you want to do stuff, start writing now. And never stop reading, because that's how you really learn. You absorb what the craft is from reading. If you read a lot, you know how to establish a character. You know how to sprinkle their plot points in. You know, so yeah, that's my advice. Read, read, read. Write, write, write. Go see different kinds of art. Go to the art museum. You know, go to theater. Watch films that are, you know, watch all kinds of films. You know, all that stuff, you're going to start absorbing how to create your characters, how to create the kind of world that you want to create in your books. And never, ever let anyone discourage you, because if I could do it coming from the projects in Coney Island, anybody could do it. Seriously. Because I think that, right. To tell you the truth, there ain't no genius sitting here. But if you put the work in, you know, and if you let those opportunities that come to you, investigate them. I mean, I wasn't thinking about working for TV until somebody called me and said, somebody saw your thing and she thought that you had a good ear for kids, come in for an interview. I could have just went, nah, I'm not interested in that, but I didn't do that. You got to explore the opportunities that come your way and go with the flow, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
There are very few people that end up doing what they go to school to learn to do. You know?
That's so true.
So go with the flow and see where your life will take you. Hey, Vanessa.
Yes. Thank you. That's wonderful advice. You kind of hit on a few of the people already, but one of the questions I always pose is, who are your influences? Like, who are your, like, these are my North Star. When I think about writing, I know even with acting, like August Wilson, you mentioned that because of the play, but, and even Toni Morrison and like all these different people, like, who would you say, like, man, these are staple people who have really impacted my work and who I am, or even maybe your identity as an actor and writer?
You know, well, for writing, of course, August Wilson, but before he came along, I loved Tennessee Williams. I love all of his plays. I love Toni Morrison. I love John Steinbeck. I, you know, spent one summer just reading Steinbeck because I just think he's a brilliant, brilliant writer. And but you have to find who you love, who has a voice that connects to you, who writes the kind of stories that you would want to read. I was watching I Love Lucy with my daughter last night. My daughter she's seen every episode. And that's heartens me because I grew up watching I Love Lucy at dinner every night. We had a portable TV on the kitchen table and we sit there, eat, watching Lucy. And I learned a lot from her. You know, she's so good at showing you what she's thinking. And I always, you know, I always look back at the kind of work that she did in acting. You know, whether I'm doing a drama or anything, because it's a process of sharing what's going on in here to those out there. So there's that, you know, and then there's singers, everything, every piece of art I watch, I try to get, why is this affecting me like this? Why is what these people doing? You know, I can't draw for the life of me. I wish I could. But I can go and look at paintings, you know, and look at Kehinde Wiley and go, wow, you know, that's knocking me out. You know, I think they got an exhibition of his in Durham. So if it's there, because somebody put something up on Facebook, I'm going to go because it's just like, wow, man, I want to be close to that kind of stuff and let myself absorb, you know, the vibes that are coming from him. I hope I answered your question, though. I'm going by.
You did.
Okay.
You did. Yeah. I think the important thing is to know that our influences come from multiple different avenues, right? So it's not just reading, writing. I mean, nature, anything could be our motivation.
Music.
Help us to just, music. Yeah. And so I think just as we're getting towards the end, like, what do you feel like? I know you said you're retired or trying to retire, but what would you say? I mean, what's the sky's the limit? Like, what's the next thing you would love? I know you have the second edition of the book, this one man stage coming up. Is there anything like, man, these are some things I would really still love to do?
Well, we have, me and a friend of mine named Maria Perez Brown, we have created an idea for a preschool animated series that Nelvana, which is a huge production company in Canada, have optioned from us. And so we've been working on prepping that. So I hope that show goes. Not that I want to work that hard again every day, but I do want to pay for my daughter's college and be able to maybe buy her a car at some point.
Yes.
Know? And so that's like, please let that happen so I can put this girl through college, you know, and pay off my bills. But yeah, I mean, I want to do that. I want to write more books. I want to sell my my literary fiction book because I love doing that. I also love teaching. I teach a course called Story of Your Life, where I help people write their autobiographical stories, 2 pages at a time. This summer, I'm going to be doing a workshop connected with Cape Fear Community College. And they do summer camps for kids. And I'm doing a summer camp that I call It's All Right, WRITE. And we're going to explore all the different genres of writing during a week. You know, we're going to do plays, we're going to do screenplays, teach them how to do the format and structures of novels and poetry. So that, you know,
I love it.
I can't sit still, although I wish I could, but I can't seem to sit still just yet.
Well, that all sounds amazing. I mean, you still just have so much to still offer, so you can't retire, I guess, huh?
Well, I'm trying. Well, we'll see.
Yes. Well, I want to say first, thank you so much for your time and having this conversation. Just so you all know, I literally just out the blue stalked him. I was like, look, I have this organization. We do this work in Chicago, and I just want to expose my babies to as many different people who are doing amazing work. And he right away was like, yes, I'm open. Let's try to figure out a date. And so I first wanted to say thank you for just even taking the time to just be a part of this conversation and to open up a little bit about yourself with someone that you didn't even know less than
I
6
don't know
months
you
ago.
personally, but I think what you're doing is so special and so important.
Mm-hmm.
Introducing kids starting at 6 months old, you know, that's brilliant. I started reading to my daughter when she was born. You know, get to kids
Mm-hmm.
to have a love of reading, and so I salute you and I thank you for reaching out to me because I think what you and your team are doing is just fantastic. We gotta make people love reading so that they don't, you know, some people never pick up a book after they leave high school. And that's just crazy
Yep.
because there's so much stuff, you know? So
Yes.
props
Yes.
to you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. So before we end, how can people keep in contact with you and watch your work and look up other things that you've done? Like, how can they research you and all that great stuff?
Well, Google me. And I have a website, www.fracaswellhyman.com. I need to keep it up more and write more stuff on it, but it's all there. You know, all the different work is there. Find me on Facebook, write to me. I love hearing from people. I love, especially kids, when they read the book, if they write to me or something, I love it. I'm open to go doing school visits and stuff like that because that's fun to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to make sure we put the website and everything underneath.
Good.
And have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you.
All right. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye.